Hello guys and welcome back. In today's video, I will create the web page that I gave as an assignment in the previous video. This is the web page that we had to design. So we had this Google lookalike, and when someone hovers here, it shows you these app drop down, and when someone hovers on the input box, it gets a shadow. When someone hovers on the button, it gets this border. Alright, so let's begin. Let's bring up our code editor. First, let's create the structure of the web page. So we need these top menus, so Gmail, images, this menu icon, and the profile pic. So let's start with those. So according to HTML5, we need to wrap these things in header. And for the specific menus, we can wrap them in navbar. So nav. So these two are supposed to be links. So let's wrap them in anchor tag. Let's bring this here. Let's give href the same page. Gmail. Similarly, images. Let's save it. Let's open our live server. And as you can see, we've got these two images. Now let's add styles for these. So as seen here, the entire web page has a font family of Arial, sans serif. So that's why we can give it to the body. So let's just copy this. So coming to our CSS file. So body, font family, Arial, sans serif. So we don't have to import Arial the way we did with Google Web Fonts, because this is by default available in HTML. So you can simply use it without importing. All right. So coming back here, and now if you can see, the font family is a bit different. So if I try removing this, the font style changes. When I put it back, the font style changes again. All right, so coming back, so the menu items have a font size of 13 pixels and a background color of black with opacity 0.87. So let's give it that. Let's add a class here. So menu item. Let's paste it here. Let's copy this class name. So what we need is the font size of 13 pixels and a color of RGBA black. And opacity is an opacity of 0.87. So 0.87. Let's save it. Coming back here. Now let's save it. And as you can see, are these menu items. They have the similar font size and color, but they have this underline by default. So we can remove that. So text decoration. Let's say none. But on hover, they have this underline. So let's add that. So dot menu item, and on hover, text decoration, underline. Let's save it. And now when I hover, I've got this underline. All right. So moving on. Let's try adding this icon. So for this, you can use an image, or else I've specified another way of using icons. So just like we had font awesome, we also have these Google material icons. So to import them, we can just paste this link in the head element of HTML. So let's do that. So we can paste it here. And now I can access all the Google material design icons. So if I search Google material icons and I visit this URL, I have access to all these icons now. All of these. All right. And to select icon, just click on that. So it shows you here. For modern browsers, just copy this I tag. So that's what we've done here. For that menu item, we've copied this I tag. So let's use it here. So after these menu items, we can have this image. So coming back here, and now as you can see, we've got our icon as well. Then after that, we have this profile pic. So I've got mine over here. So let's just copy the URL and add the image after this. So img source file. So image URL in the source. So let's paste it here, and then alt text. So let's say profile pic. Let's save it. So coming back, and now as you can see, we've got all these top 4 menu items which I've designed here. Just that the style is a bit off. So let's just close these two and let's add some styles. So coming back here, so if you can see here, the profile pic has a width of 32 pixels and height 32 pixels. So let's add that. So let's give it an ID, say profile pic. Let's copy it, save it, and this is an ID, so hash. So let's give it a width and height, say 48 pixels by 48 pixels. Let's save it. And it looks pretty much the same. All right, now it's time to align these items. So this nav bar, it represents our menu. So we can add styles to this to move everything on the right hand side. So nav, text align, right, let's save it. And as you can see, all our icons are now on the right hand side. Similarly, let's align them in the center vertically. So we can use position relative for that. So position relative, let's say top 0. So it stays in the position. So we can leave negative values to move it up. So let's say -8 pixels. That's much better. Similarly, we need to move this menu, the app icon as well. So we've already got an ID here. So drop down menu. So let's add some styles. So hash, let's say top -8 pixels. It wouldn't work because we haven't given position relative. Let's save it. Let's increase it to 10. Yeah, that's much better. Similarly for menu item, let's increase this, say -12, which is still not enough. Let's say 16. And that's much better. Also, if you notice, there's a margin on the right hand side for all these menu items. So let's give that. So let's say margin right, 16 pixels. Similarly, let's give the margin right to this app icon as well. So margin right and 16 pixels. All right, so that looks much better. Now moving on. So now what we need is this Google image. So let's add that. So I've given the logo here. So let's copy it. Coming back here. Let's add it in the HTML file. Let's create the main section. Let's add a section inside this. And inside that, let's add this image. Let's say src and the image URL. Let's give it an ID, say Google logo. Let's save it. And as you can see, we've got this Google logo on the screen. Let's move everything to the center. So we could do, so we've got this section here. So let's move everything in the section in the center of the screen. So section, text align, center. Let's save it. And as you can see, we've got this Google logo in the center of the screen, horizontally. Similarly, what we need is this input box. So let's create that. So coming back here, Let's add an input box. Let's save it, and as you can see, we've got our input box right next to the image, but what we want is the image box to be below the image. So let's do that. So let's just wrap it in a div, or we could simply do break line here. Let's save it, and as you can see, our input box is on the next line. Let's add some styles to this input box. So we've got a width, color, border, font size, padding, and border radius. So coming back here, let's add an ID to this. So ID, let's say search box. Let's save it. Let's use that ID here. So search box. So after every style, we have to add this semicolon. All right, let's save it. So coming back here, and now as you can see, our input box looks pretty much like this. What we need is this audio search icon. So let's add that. So we've got the voice search icon here. Let's copy it. Let's bring it down here. Now what we need to do is we need to wrap this input in a div so that we can give div a position relative and this voice search icon a position absolute so we can move it on top of the input box. So let's add that. So we've got a div here. Let's give this div an ID, say input wrapper. Let's add the image here. Let's give it the source URL. Let's give it an alt text. Let's say voice search icon. Let's save it. So coming back here, let's add some styles to this input wrapper. So hash, because that was an ID. So input wrapper, position relative, let's save it. Now let's give some style to this search icon. So we could do hash, input wrapper, and the image right inside it. Let's give it position absolute. Let's save it. And if I do right 0, it goes to the far end, which we don't want. So what's happening here is because this input wrapper is a div and div is a block element, so it takes the entire width. And that's why our image is at the far end of the screen. So what we can do is instead of giving a fixed width to this, we can give a fixed width to our input wrapper. And we can make this width 100% so that our input box takes the full width of the wrapper and the width of the wrapper is just 582 pixels. Let's save it. And as you can see, we've got this image over here. Similarly, if I do top 0, it moves to the top, which is inside our input box. All right. And the image size looks a bit bigger, so let's make it small. So let's say width 28 pixels. That's much better. So let's bring it in the center vertically. Let's add a little more value to the top. Let's say 8 pixels or let's say 10 pixels. That's better. Also, now we need to bring this input box to the center of the screen. So we could just change the display to inline block. Let's save it. And as you can see, it's coming to the center of the screen. Now what we want is when someone hovers or focuses on the search box, it should have a box shadow and a border. So right now when you do, nothing happens. We get this outline, so let's remove that. So we could simply do outline none. And now we don't get this outline, but we don't get the shadow as well. So let's add that. So hash search box. So on hover, I want this box shadow and this border color. Let's save it. And now when I hover, this input box has a shadow. But when I focus, it doesn't. So let's add it for focus as well. Let's copy this. So hash search box and focus. Let's paste it here. Let's save it. And now when I focus, even then I've got this shadow. Also, if you notice here, there's some space between the logo and the input box, so we can add some margin. So coming back here, let's say margin, sorry. So we'll have to add it to our search box. So let's say margin top and 24 pixels. Let's save it. And that looks much better. Now let's try adding these buttons. So over here, we've got some styles for the buttons. So let's copy those. Add some buttons here first. So now we need to add two buttons. So we could do first button, which is Google search, and second is I'm feeling lucky. So let's add those here. Second is I'm feeling lucky. Let's save it. Let's give them a class. Let's say custom buttons. Similarly, let's add the same class here as well. So custom BTN. Let's save it. Let's add the styles to those buttons over here. So dot custom BTN. Let's paste all the styles here. So the background color needs to have this hyphen and colon over here. Alright, so coming back here, let's save this. And as you can see, these buttons have got the styles, but they are in the same line. So let's bring them in the next line. So we could simply just wrap them in a div. Let's save it. And now as you can see, both these buttons are on the next line. Also, if you notice, there's some space between these buttons and the input box. So let's add that as well. So coming here. So let's give it a margin bottom as well, say 24 pixels. And there's a space between the input box and these buttons. Although our icon seems to have gone a bit out of the input box, so let's manage that. So instead of top 10 pixels, let's first bring it to 0. So it's going outside the box. Let's give it a bigger value, say 24 pixels. Say 32 pixels. And that looks much better. Also, when I hover on these buttons, it should get this border and some shadow. So let's add that. So coming back here, so the class was custom button. So on hover, we want to add some styles. Let's save this. And now when I hover, my buttons, they get these border and some shadow. Also, these buttons have some spacing in the between. So let's add those as well. So coming here. So what we can do is custom button first of type. We can give it a margin right, say 16 pixels. Let's save it. And as you can see, our buttons have some spacing in the middle. Alright, so now let's bring it to the center of the screen. So coming here, as you can see, the section wraps all the content that we've got here. So if we give some padding to the section, we can bring our content to the center of the screen. So let's say padding top 10%. Let's save it. Let's increase the padding, say 11%. And as you can see, it looks pretty much the same. Just that our main container has some padding on left and right. So let's add that as well. So coming back here, so we can add some padding here. Let's say padding 16 pixels. Let's save it. On the left and right, so 0 and 16 pixels. Looks much better now. Alright, so moving on. So when we hover on this icon, it should show that app dropdown like this. So first let's design this app dropdown. So if you can see here, these are the styles for the app dropdown. So coming here, let's add this card. So div, let's give it an ID, say app dropdown. Let's save it. Let's add some styles to this division. So hash, let's copy these styles, paste them here. Let's save it. And as you can see, we've got a card with some shadow and a border. Now what this card needs is, it needs these app items. So let's add those as well. So the first one is Google search. So let's copy this image URL. Coming here, let's add the first div. And inside that we need an image. Let's give it a source URL. Alt tag, let's say Google search. It also needs a label. So let's say P. And let's give it some label. So in our case, it has got just search. So let's add that here. Let's add some class to this. So we could say app item. And in total, we need 6 app items. So let's just copy paste these. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's save it. Coming here, and as you can see, the stylings are way off. So let's add some styles. So we've got the app item. So hash, this is a class, so dot app item. It has a display inline block and it has a width of 84 pixels. Let's save it. Then let's add some styles for the image inside. So we've got this image tag over here. So app item, selecting the image inside. It has a width of 50 pixels and height of 50 pixels. Let's save it. So coming here, and now as you can see, we've got the app icons over here. Also, the label has a different color, so let's add that as well. So dot app item paragraph. Let's add this color here. Let's remove the margins and let's add some padding on the top, say 8 pixels. Let's save it. Alright, so moving on. Alright, so as you can see, this label and the next item is very much close to each other. So we could give some margin bottom. So let's say margin bottom 16 pixels. Let's increase it a bit more, say 18 pixels. Looks much better. All right, so let's use these images now. So for the second one, we can add maps. So instead of Google search, this would be Google Maps, and the label would be maps. Let's save it. And as you can see, it changed. Similarly, let's add it for drive. So instead of search, this would be drive. And over here, this would be drive. Let's add it for calendar. Similarly, let's add it for photos. Similarly, let's add it for keep. Let's save it and coming back here. And as you can see, we've got our application items here. Although what we want to do is on hover, they should have a border. So let's add that. So coming here, so dot app item on hover, it can have this border now. So when I hover, it has a border. Let's give it some border radius. So as you can see, it has some border radius here. So let's add that. Let's say 8 pixels. Let's save it. That looks much better. Alright, so as you can see, these icons are very close to each other. So let's add some padding. Let's say padding top bottom 8 pixels and left right say 2 pixels. Let's save it. That looks much better. Now what we want is we need this to be over here, right below this menu item. So for that, what we can do is select this entire drop down. So this app drop down, let's cut it. And drop this menu item in a div and paste it inside it. Coming back here. And as you can see, the entire styles have gone off because this is turned into a div and it's taking the entire space. So let's just change it to inline div. So let's say ID drop down wrapper. Let's paste it here. Let's say display inline block. Let's save it. Also, let's give our app drop down as display as position absolute. Let's save it. Okay, so we've got this app drop down right below it. It's just that it's going out. So let's change that. So what we can do is we can give it a right of 0. Let's increase the value a bit more, say 24. Let's increase it a bit more, say 100 pixels, and that looks better. Although these items are going to the right hand side, so let's bring them in the center. So we could do text align center. That looks much better. All right, so as you can see, we've got this app drop down here, but it's visible by default. And what we want is it to be visible only when someone hovers on this menu icon. So let's do that. So this entire thing is wrapped in drop down wrapper. So let's select it. But before we do anything, let's hide this by default. So we could do app drop down, display none. Let's save it, and the drop down is gone. All right, so now what we want is when someone hovers on this drop down wrapper, we need to show our app drop down. So let's select that hash app drop down. So on drop down wrapper hover. All right, so now what we're doing here is, so when someone hovers on this drop down wrapper, we've selected our app drop down and we can simply do display block. Let's save it. So coming here, now when I hover on this menu icon, it shows us this drop down. That's all for today, guys. If there is something that you did not understand, feel free to drop a comment and we will discuss it. See you in the next video. Bye and take care.